Well, speaking of albums that this one's probably the one that demands the least amount of re-listens, but not in a negative way. The Isley Brothers 3+3. We have officially, for the first time, gotten the Isley Brothers. We did have the Nevilles as part of the meters, but not the Isleys yet. So before I give my take, Matt, why don't you run the numbers for us?
So in Rolling Stone's list, this comes in at number 464. On Best Ever Albums, it's number 498 in the 1970s, number 54 in 1973, 2,627 of all time, and it is the Isley Brothers' highest rated album on Best Ever Albums.
Well, I'll start with this, guys. Here's the deal. If you don't like this album, you don't like R&B, because this is a definitive R&B album. There's just massive bass all over this. The vibe is upbeat and sensual. The percussion, the singing, it's just everything about this album screams 70s R&B, and not in a dated or a bad way. And once again, this looks back to the sound of the 60s. It takes Motown and sexes it up with a little bit of the funk. It's of its time, and then you hear this all over the place, especially all over 90s. What R&B became in the 90s, as well as hip-hop samples in the 90s. Another thing that jumps out right off the bat as I'm listening to it, I wasn't looking at the titles, and it starts with That Lady Parts 1 and 2, which is probably the most well-known song on this album. And then Summer Breeze, I know is both an Isley Brothers song and a Seals and Crofts song. They're two very different songs. Then, without even realizing it, I hear the freaking Doobie Brothers come in, because there's Listen to the Music is on this. I'm like, whoa, I think that's the Doobie Brothers, a cover of the and then I started thinking to myself, did the Doobie Brothers originally do that? And they did. This was a Doobie Brothers song that's there. And so there's multiple covers there. I found out later there's a James Taylor cover on this as well, guys. The second song.
Sunshine is a cover.
Is it the one that sucked?
It's Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight is the cover number 2, and then Sunshine, is a cover. Not that I recognize it. It's a country folk cover by a gentleman named Jonathan Edwards. So actually, 4 of the songs on this were covers, but that does nothing to hurt this album, because I love this sound. I love the bass on this album. I love the vocals and the background vocals on this album. The Isley Brothers, and there are 5 of them on this album, have definitive sounding voices, especially Ron Isley. Ron Isley had a whole second career in the night. I always think of him singing. Gosh, it's funny because when you talk about R. Kelly now, right? It's like, can you talk about R. Kelly as a musician without, what he's become? But I don't know how much you guys know. I'm sure probably Matt doesn't, but Josh, you may know it, the song where there's the Mr. Big character, right? And then R. Kelly singing back and forth at a Kelly Price song, right? And, R. Kelly's cheated on Ron Isley's wife or daughter, right? And they're singing back and forth, and that Ron Isley voice is fantastic. There's also Between the Sheets, which Big E sampled as well for One More Chance and stuff like that. But this album puts me in a really good mood. I love the way it sounds. That ARP synthesizer is all over this album. We talked about it's coming in the 70s, and it's all over this album. The bass is all over this album. It's actually Marvin Isley, who was the youngest member of the group and joined it here, and this is where the Isley Brothers went from a very popular R&B group to the 70s superstars they became. They always sold well, but this is what gave them that 70s sound, Marvin Isley's bass. I love it. It is straight ahead, to the vein R&B. As I was listening to this, it was very interesting and I'm curious to see if it takes. My first thought is Josh is going to love this album, and this is the type of album that Matt's going to look at us and say, I didn't get this album. And Josh and I are going to be like, how did you not get this album? I could be wrong, but knowing taste, I feel like that's where it's going to fall. All right, now let me punt. I think, Josh, you're next. Did I read it right with you?
Well, I blew my cover because I sent you guys.
Oh yeah, you did. But
smiley face. But
yeah, even before I saw that, even before I saw that, I knew this was up your alley.
Yeah, I love this album. I'm disappointed that I never heard it earlier in my life. It is the perfect Friday summer album to listen to. It's kind of everything I want in R&B. It's what I wish the Marvin Gaye and Al Green albums were like, because we've been kind of lukewarm to negative on them for the most part. This is what I was looking for, and it delivers in spades. I love the bass. I love all the harmonizing that they do. I love the guitars. I love the synth. I love the covers even. They're just like really good things, good versions of them, and they've got that. Now we know where CeeLo gets his voice from, because that's exactly the same as when they're singing on this. If you were there,
him in every '90s, R&B group, yeah.
So yeah, this is just and they do some interesting things too. Like Summer Breeze has this great, almost like Asian sounding start to it. I was trying to think of a better way to say it.
Yeah, that sound.
And they just I don't know. It's just, this is like such an easy recommend for me. I like That Lady is such a danceable song, and it grabbed me right away as the opening track of the album, and it didn't go throughout the whole thing, to the point where I like put it on repeat and just like listen to it later on that day, just to hear, not for note taking or anything, just to like listen to it while I was doing other things. So yeah, this is a great album, and I can't recommend it enough.
Josh, you cheated twice on this album,
and that's, yeah, sure. What are the consequences?
Breaking all the rules. I don't know. Just changing the rules.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you earlier, Matt, say that like you saw that something was the first platinum album ever? So somebody was delving in a little bit of cheating himself, it sounds like.
I saw that after I listened. I did what you did. Josh tipped his hand of whether he liked it or not, and then he listened to it again.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway. I didn't take notes the second time, so it doesn't count.
That's like that's like the thing in court where the guy like objection. Okay, the jury will disregard, but how you gonna not hear that again? We've
already reached our experimental phase, like can and noi. Which, by the way, I apologize to anyone who's been listening who's heard us say new over. It's noi, NEU.
Oh, the krautrock thing.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff was on that. He didn't correct us.
That's right. Jeff should have known. Yeah, you blame Jeff for that.
I don't blame. I blame myself for not getting that one right, because we did it too often. One time, but yeah. Oh. So was I right, Matt, or was I wrong?
Nope, you were wrong.
Okay, good.
I liked it. No, I like this, and actually, Josh says
because there's no hope for you with R&B if you didn't like this. I was like, you might as well not listen to it. Yeah, okay.
No. Josh was saying that he felt that this was what he was hoping Marvin Gaye and Al Green would be. This is what I was hoping Stevie Wonder would be, because this is I'm hearing Stevie Wonder all over this with the synths, and I'm getting the Stevie Wonder influence on here very much.
Want to hear something interesting? They actually recorded this album at the exact same time in the same studio as Stevie Wonder when he was doing Intervisions, and they actually showed up early and walked in on him recording "Don't You Worry About a Thing." So there you go.
Yeah, no, I thought that this was much more interesting and much more catchy and upbeat, and I like this better. No, I felt the same way, John. I was like, listen to the music, their song? Did they do this originally? So I thought that was kind of funny. But no, the guitar stood out to me the most and the most consistently. The guitar sound here sounds ahead of its time, but I was hearing like it's an 80s type of guitar sound. Like this, it's a weird distortion kind of a thing that's happening, but it's also very crisp at the same time. It's an electronic. It's another type of an electronic sound. But so that's throughout the album, and I liked it. I thought it was kind of a unique tone that they were going for with the guitar. But no, the stuff all over the place, whether it was more of an upbeat song or whether it was more of a slower ballad, I thought they were all very, very good songs, and very catchy, and the vocals are great. The falsetto that he's doing is very good, kind of coming in and out of the falsetto. It's not all done falsetto wise, but I heard a little bit of the what it comes down to had like more that Al Green drumming patter, the kind of a thing. So there's dribs and drabs of other artists in here, but overall it's just strong songs, very catchy, and good beats, good funk stuff going on here. So at times it's 70s, at times it's 80s to me. Obviously, I knew that lady. I liked the second part of that, the instrumental breakdown, the lady part 2.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of, I didn't really hear that before.
That's who the lady is. Matt, the other part of the lady, I think is what.
Oh, the other part of the lady. Yes, the other part of the lady. So, yeah, no, thumbs up. I definitely like this. This was not a difficult album to listen to. A lot of the songs just jumped right out. There was enough variety in here, even though they're kind of in the same lane throughout most of the album, but there was still enough variety here to keep you interested. And it's not particularly long. But yeah, I like the covers as well. I didn't know about the James Taylor. I definitely knew Summer Breeze and listened to the music. Love to listen to the music that's got that Bo Diddley beat that starts off, and that's always a good way to start off a song. So yeah, thumbs up. I liked it.
It's just so much more fun than the Stevie Wonder albums.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder is trying. It seems like he's always trying to be profound and talk about serious issues and couch them in his synths and his voice. But this is just so much more fun and a joy to listen to versus those.
Yeah, I would agree. It's more fun to Matt used the term, it's more interesting than the Stevie Wonder album. I would quibble with that because there's a lot going on in the Stevie Wonder album. I know I liked it a lot more than you guys did, but I wouldn't say the Stevie Wonder albums weren't so much interesting as they were. They might not have connected with me in terms of an pure enjoyment. Yeah. So for me, I'm going with my own. Now, Matt, what you probably heard guitar tone wise was that soft fuzz distortion that Jimi Hendrix used to do. It's that with that effects pedal. That was what he was using on that.
I never heard Hendrix guitar sound like this though. This sounded more modern.
It's that what's it called? It's the sustain, right? The sustain. It's the pedal that I only remember that because I did all the Hendrix albums. Yeah, it's that pedal sound. Now it's different.
Well, they rock out. They certainly use that a lot. It's not just like a background thing. It's a lot of solos, and there's rock. There's definitely rock and roll in here. It's not just R&B and soul and funk. It's rock too.
I mean, Ernie Isley, like Jimi Hendrix, like many people, was his hero, is what you read about on that. So, yeah. But I mean, it's funny because you look at how many people have sampled the Isley Brothers. It's like so many hip hop songs that you would recognize, and not just in the '80s, the '90s, the '00s. There's Kendrick Lamar is sampling him now, and it's just all over the place. So he's a beast. They're a beast in terms of being sampled, and you can see why. So,
absolutely.
So, man, it's getting to be quite the chorus this week, isn't it?
It's a love fest.
I like it a lot. Yeah. It is a love fest this week.
That was kind of how I felt listening to the albums.
Yeah, I'm waiting for one that we're gonna hate, and I mean, we only have one more this album. But any final thoughts before we move on to the New York Dolls?
I don't think so.
No, this is my favorite album of these four for sure.
Okay, there you go.
I will say that that's not the case for me. But
I love this album, but it's not the case for me either. So maybe we'll do a recap at the end. But one